Protection proxy smart references simply do housekeeping tasks, which may be keeping reference to an object, and like we said, by the time, for instance, the proxy could count the number of uses on the subject, and at certain point, at certain threshold, release the object and require the client to establish another dispose of this proxy and create another proxy. So there could be all kinds of business requirements that would allow this to be something that you can use in your design. So we have a sample here, which I will today. I will not go through all the details, but it basically demonstrates the virtual proxy design pattern, right? So first we introduce a very practical situation with this measuring proxy. Now there's an example here online which allows you to see the collaboration inside a software where basically there's a proxy for a potentially large image in memory, and if the image is the same, every time you get access to the proxy, the image is recycled, and that's what this virtual proxy design pattern demonstrates, this specific example, right? So there's a like a picture image proxy which the client gets, but there's also real image, and of course we have the image interface which both the proxy and the real subject must implement in order to have this proxy design pattern to be the pattern that you're using. So quite extensive list of benefits. In fact, any indirection typically introduces a level of benefits. Yes, it complicates the design, right? So because instead of just having look at the elevator bank, keeping track of the collection of elevators, now with multiple components that we have to look at, including the interface that only declares the methods. So with this respect, the benefits come with introduction of proxies. However, the design becomes more complex. Okay. So let's just iterate this list and see if it makes sense. So proxies act as contracts for accessing services, right? So essentially, proxy promises that I can fulfill the set of services, but of course it has to rely on the real subject. So proxy may have an expiration date or count decremented with each usage. So these types of proxies are called counting proxies or expiration proxies. So expired proxy terminates access to the underlying service. So you can, if you think about it, there could be multiple situations where this can be quite useful, right? So in many businesses you have certain terms where things begin to expire for whatever reason, right? It could be, amortization, expiration. It can be just simply a maintenance requirement and things like that. So it's a very, very, very typical idea. And if you face this type of requirement, you could immediately begin to think of a design where you have the real thing and proxy that can control this expiration. A measuring proxy, usage stats. So that's the example we used. Measuring proxies right here, which is very, very typical. And again, the benefit here is that instead of programming statistics into the elevator class, we found a way to program it somewhere else inside the elevator proxy, and that is a very very useful, because sometimes other parts of your application don't need these services, then they can use the elevator directly. and they don't have to be burdened by, additional services that collect and measure and provide statistics, right? So this is very beneficial to the health of the entire program organization. Remote proxies, we already mentioned those. That use the same interface, however, hide the complex protocol details accessing remote service between the client and the server. Chain proxies, right? So we can have, for instance, over here, we could further say that, essentially just going to this example here. So if we have, we can have basically just save this part over here.